Yeah, but the ball that he played to him in the box, like as he, I mean, like, come on, like it's great stuff. It's legitimately good stuff.
Herzlich willkommen zurück auf Schalke America. Out of Victory Monday, but we're here nonetheless. Last one of 2025. I'm your host, Richard. Joining me as always, co-host Jack. How are we doing, my friend?
We're doing all right. I mean, you can't win them all, can you? But we've won the first half of the season, which ultimately means nothing, but it feels good considering where we were last year. So, I'm okay, all things considered.
Yeah, it would have been nice to end the season or end the first half on a win, but hey, can't win them all, and we're just happy we've won as many as we have already, right? So, like you said, we're autumn champions. It's nice. It's not the ultimate end goal. A long way to go. Still 17 games remaining. But we got this one last game to talk about in 2025, and then we're out of here for about 3 weeks in terms of Schalke and real games outside of friendlies. I think the boys have a break until about the 7th of January or something like that themselves, Miron Muslic said. So, but one last game to talk about on the road at Schalke's B squad, apparently having 17 players of former Schalke players on their team.
Yeah.
And what's that old adage? When there's one Schalke player, is 50% chance they're going to score. 100% chance they're going to score. As many as Braunschweig had, it's going to be a guarantee that they're going to score. But like we did last couple weeks, I think you and I are both very big fans of just tifos in general, not just our own. Obviously, we have a fantastic Nordkurve that does this great choreographies, but got to give shout outs when they're deserved around the world. I think I kind of want to start off with what Braunschweig did. This one was their, I think, 130th anniversary or something like that. But their tifo that they had, wonderfully done. It's really beautiful. The ultras did a great job with it. So I had to give a quick shout out for that. So did you see that before the game?
I actually didn't catch that one this time around, but yeah, no, respect to it. And I honestly don't know why this isn't more of a thing more consistently in more places. I mean, maybe it is, and I just don't pay attention to it. But I just feel like, I don't know. The tifo game this year's been a little bit more elevated.
Yeah, no doubt. Eric Glukalf, see you in the chat, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Anyone else who's listening or watching along, let us know in the chat where you're watching along from. Just come say hello. Before we get to the game, let's do a quick rundown for tonight. We're going to do a brief recap on the Braunschweig match, get into our talking points for them, as we have been doing lately. Get a little bit about what Karaman had to say at the end of this and what Muslic had to say. Maybe do a little quiz here at the end and then get on out of here to the Winterpause. Nice long 3-4 week break out of this. But let's kick it off and let's talk about the game that was. We have to. Let's start with the home team. Former Schalke player, Hoffmann in goal. Back three of Frankert, Nakoa, and Kohler. Sven Kohler, a very good defender for many years. In midfield, you had Gomez, Marie, former Schalke player, Mehmet Çenaiden, and Leon Bell. Up top, you had Heusser, Conte, and Yardmichi. It's okay, squad. They've been coming on as of late. Very hot and cold this season. Obviously, still underperforming where they would like to be. But always, for me, two things stuck out. Ex-Schalke players, and they got plenty of them because on the bench they had another two players on the bench as well. And then the man up top, sort of up top, Conte, he's a good player in general. So those are my big worries in this game. How about you? Same?
I mean, if there is a danger man, like you said, there's not somebody that's, sitting there with 10 goals on their side at this point in the season, given how things have gone for them. But yeah, if there's danger man, it's probably Conte. And then as you mentioned, obviously the Schalke guys we're going to be taking a look at as well. And there's not even as many of them in the starting lineup as there may have been, given how many of them are at, on the squad in general. So probably fortunate.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. They probably have another 4 guys that weren't even made the matchday squad, which is crazy how many guys they have on their team.
Because they still have Florian Flick, right?
Yeah, Flick, several others as well. So yeah, it's crazy. There's all the outcasts seem to go to Braunschweig. Apparently, it's a nice place to retire, I guess. Looking at us as the visitors, obviously Loris Karius in goal, back three of Ayhan, Katic, and Kurachai. Midfield 4, you got Porat on the right with El-Faouzi and Schallenberg in the middle, Vitaly Becker on the left, and then up top, the front 3, you got Gomes gets a start in this one with Karaman and Musa Silla. Thoughts on the starting 11, in particular the insertion of Gomes?
Yeah, I mean, not Not a lot to be notable with. I mean, I guess Porat doesn't start too often. He's more of a substitute than a starter. So I guess him getting from the beginning is slightly noticeable. Yeah, and then Gomez, he's been working his way back into not the contention necessarily, but like he's been getting the appearances in the last few weeks consistently. So I'm not shocked to see him in the starting lineup either. Beyond that, for the most part, pretty much business as usual. I think.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. I wish it was business as usual for us as the game went on, but this game was very. You could tell from the onset that this was not going to be an easy game. Obviously, a team like Braunschweig has done well at home, despite what the record may say. And from the early onset, they had lots of attack against our team. Karius was active early, not with just saves, but I mean he was active trying to like intercept balls and stuff, trying to get out of his box constantly throughout the game. Really, he's very active. I noticed also the home team was very active in the press. Jack, usually this is something we like to do is press and get the other teams uncomfortable, and it seemed like they took a recipe right out of our book and used the press highly effective against us, and it seemed like we were struggling to try to escape or break the press. It seemed like.
I would certainly agree with that. I thought this was a much uglier one for us in possession than last week, for example. And I think that contributed to like further bad performances from people like Silla and other guys as well, like kind of up top that were not as able to get into the game.
As Joseph says, good to see you. Joseph says, very flat performance, wasn't good at all. I agree about that. And a sign of what things were going to come, it was like in the 11th minute or so, there was a strong play by Braunschweig, led to a dangerous shot wide that Karius had no chance at. I mean, that was an early indicator, an early warning sign that say, hey, Braunschweig are here to play today. It seemed like our defense was flat. We talked about this last week, how it seemed like Katic and Korcha maybe a little bit flat, but in this game, certainly the team didn't seemed like they may be in vacation mode already. I don't know, Jack, but it seemed like Braunschweig were here to play, and if anybody had the better of the play in the first half, it was Braunschweig. I thought.
Oh, I think that's not debatable. I thought we were pretty poor the entire game, especially. I mean, even without the goals in the first half, I thought the first half was pretty lopsided and pretty poor. I don't know if I'm not going to say it was like full vacation mode or anything in terms of like us just like entirely not showing up. I mean, I think we were in it for whatever reason. They just seemed a little bit sharper, kind of in every department, and a little bit quicker to the 50-50 balls. And as you also said, though, this is very disruptive against the ball, and we had a lot of difficulty playing through that pretty much anywhere on the pitch for the most part.
I think this game was important. I mean, obviously it's important for us. We wanted to get to that 40-point marker in the first half, but for Braunschweig, it's a team that's gone up and down all season long, and they want to kind of put 2025 behind them and end the first half with a win. So you could tell that they were up for this game. Like you said, more sharp. They had a lot of intent, a lot of good structure to them throughout the first half. Throughout the season, many people have pointed out, not only us, but just football fans in general talk about how Schalke's right side tends to be young. Maybe not so much in this game with Gomis out there or Porat, but if it's if we have a weakness, it's that right hand side. And I thought throughout that first half, the danger man that we kind of pointed out to start this game, Conte, just was having a field day left and right. We did see a substitution at halftime where Becker came off, Vitaly Becker came off, and Felipe Sanchez came on. But I was thinking after that first 45 minutes, you probably should have taken that Porat and Gomis at this point because they were just getting abused left, right, and center by Conte, and you need to have a little bit more pace to kind of keep up with him or more defensive chops to kind of slow him down. He was dangerous in the first half. He was all game long. Did you see any other weakness in that first half outside of the right wing, or right side, I should say?
No, I mean I think I would agree that it was more dangerous down that side than the reverse. But I mean outside of that, I think it's what we said. It's just we had a really difficult time getting anything going in possession, stringing more than like two passes together or so, and it just seemed like every ball was just like a step out of reach, and nothing was kind of falling our way. And sometimes you have days like that.
Yeah, yeah. And it seemed like when we did have the ball, we had to try to create opportunities. Is that final pass was missing? Something was off.
Right.
Either Karaman's pass was off or whoever. It didn't seem it was clicking there. Had halftime come and go. Made the substitutions happen like I said. Surprised by Vitaly Becker coming off. I don't know if it was an injury or what, or just a tactic switch there. But in the second half, I thought Braunschweig were a lot more active than they were in the first half. Karius was forced, I think he's registered only 3 saves, but he probably had at least double that because several of the saves that he made were offsides, including like the 47th minute where I think Yardbici gets a great shot off. Karius makes a wonderful save, ends up being offside, but he didn't know it at the time. He had to be active this game because it seemed like the team wasn't quite as sharp as Braunschweig were, and so at least Karius was trying to get his money's worth, I guess, in this game, or we were trying to get.
Yeah, no, he made some nice plays at times, but he wasn't helped out a lot. There's only so many kind of like one-on-one shots or other things you can kind of take. Not that all of them were like, not the goals we consider were all just like direct one-on-ones or anything like that. But as good as he is, he's not a miracle worker. This was not our strongest performance in terms of the quality of shots conceded at times.
Sophie says, Soilofi says, when they sent Sane on the pitch, they said, the next one was going to score against us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think we all said that. We all said that was our biggest fear too when we knew Sane was going to be in there. But before we get to that goal, first half Conte was the one exploiting us. Second half, I think Bell got on in the action. Him and Conte really teamed up superbly throughout that first half, I thought. And then finally, it culminated where I think it was a give and go between Bell and Conte. Really is up and down that right hand defensive side for us. Ultimately, ball gets in. I think it's Bell gets in deep into our box, crosses it in, gets tangled up there. You saw, a bunch of our defenders knocking it around. Finally, El-Faouzi tries to clear it, and he unfortunately clears it right to Mehmet Chen Aydin, who powers home a low shot past Karius, gets the goal. Of course, a former Schalke player, former star boy for us, scores a goal. Doesn't celebrate as you'd expect, but man, that the two guys, and in particular Conte, but Conte and Bell, the guys who exploited us in our first half, who gave us this warning sign, this was coming, exploited us there in that 60th minute, and then they ultimately led to the goal that I then finished nicely.
Yeah, and that play starts on the right hand side too. There's a scrum more on sort of the right hand side of the pitch. It's a quick switch and play out of that to the side of the players that you mentioned taking advantage of us as they kind of had been. And honestly, dude, it's like if you were to ask me like describe like a Mehmet Chen Aydin goal, it's literally that.
Yeah,
it's something around the edge of the box that he just like puts his laces through. Exactly, yeah, or they just like puts his laces through. But like, and that was always like one of the things we valued about him is like, sometimes he would get into position and he wasn't shy of shooting some of these, and he usually gets them on target. Yeah. Doesn't mean he scores, but like they're usually like at least decent attempts that are hit with like pace and can ricochet or do something else. So like, I just thought it was funny. Like it was a very Aydin goal in my opinion. Took it well. I appreciated that he didn't celebrate. I was wondering how he was going to react after that, and so the fact that he was, very insisted that he wasn't celebrating was nice to see. Not that everyone cares about that kind of thing. I tend to personally enjoy that when players don't do that, but
yeah.
Regardless, but yeah, disappointing, and it's just not the kind of like defending you're used to seeing from us most of the time this season. Just can't clear it. People not being decisive with challenges, just a step too late, and out of position, and ultimately, you let too much of that bounce around, and they're gonna punish you.
And then a light bulb went off in Muslic's head and said, "Oh my God, Conte and Belba are raping us on the one hand side. So let's take them off and bring on some substitutions." Oh, okay, too little, too late at that point. But Timo Becker comes on, as does Amine Younes. Amine Younes we've seen very little of in this season so far. They came on. You had some saves by Karius throughout the game. I thought Younes was active right away, almost right away as soon as he came in the game, but. Alas, as someone in the chat mentioned, CD Sani ultimately gets subbed on for Kohler. Kohler had a head injury with Gomis already in the first half, and so I was wondering if he was going to be able to make the whole because he looked like he was pretty shook up. He ultimately did come off. CD Sane, former Schalke player, or younger brother of Leroy Sane, comes on, and obviously we're all going to be worried about this. But we continue to throw everything in the kitchen sink, trying to score a goal, much more than we've normally done. Just we're not used to being down, and two, having the ball because they're just giving it to us at this point. And we had some people forward committed. Eventually, Yardbici goes on a counterattack 1 against 2, and it's Timo Becker and I guess Katic maybe was not really on the same page because both of them are hovered over Yardbici. All of a sudden, Leroy Sané comes streaking down the left-hand side. The striker gives the ball to him. He does a little like shoulder feint on Timo Becker and scores the goal past Karius. 2-0. Second Schalke player, former Schalke player to score against us. And I'm like, oh, this is what we all worry about when we play former players.
Yeah, I mean, look, physically, City Sane does not exactly resemble Leroy Sané in terms of his build or sort of like the way he moves or anything. But yeah, just watching a Sané go down the left hand side, pull over in the box, and just fire some of the left the left foot, I was like, yeah, that's the family right there.
Yeah.
Looked good. And like there was moments even before that goal too, after the Iden goal, where they're just counterattacking at will. Like Conte had another one where Karius had to come out and make a big save, where like Schallenberg looked like he was running 15 miles per hour slower than anybody else on the pitch. No respect to Schallenberg, but like, yeah, you just haven't seen that a lot. And I don't know if the Timo Becker thing, in terms of who they're marking there on that counterattack, is a lack of Becker being in training more recently. I think that's probably like a over characterization, whatever. But anyway, yeah, I mean. It's just uncharacteristic. We haven't seen a lot of this. We haven't seen a lot of people like hitting us on counters quite this badly. I mean, the one thing I'll say though is I feel like part of this team selection and the substitutions and those kind of things, I think I could be wrong about this, but I would imagine it has to be that going into this game, our table position was secure regardless of the result. And so I feel like he was trying to rotate in people that intentionally like haven't got as much playing. That's why you see Porat get a start. You see Gomez get a start. You see Younes get subbed on, which we normally don't see. And like also like even if you look at the bench in terms of like some of the people like that are available in terms of like Dietrich and Cotter and those kind of guys, like those are not guys that are in the squad like all the time. Becker getting subbed on, that kind of stuff. So and Sanchez as well. I mean, for Becker, like you said, he gets like the entire second half. So that to me just seemed like, hey, we're going into the break. This result it's not against a promotion contender. So it's not something where the head-to-head matters as much. True. It's a worse opponent. Our table position secure. Merry Christmas. Get some minutes, kind of a thing. That's my take on it. But yeah.
No, I think it's a great shot. I think when you look at the lineup, people available and stuff like that, that makes a lot of sense, really. And I get it. I totally get it. It builds the morale for the team, gives people a chance who haven't got the minutes, like you said. But for me, and maybe just all the FIFA I've played in my life, in soccer that I played, growing up as well. But like, I hate giving up even an inch of. And I'm not saying that they didn't try; they certainly tried. But when you don't have your best lineup, it makes you susceptible for loss. But I understand also the flip side of that, where like the best teams usually have the more players involved and everyone's available and ready, and there's a lot of depth. So there's always two sides to every story, I guess. But nonetheless. CD Sané scores, and I think bound to happen a second goal, whether it was another Schalke player or not. Conte, who had been terrorizing us all game, he had a unfortunate collision with Ihan. Nothing intentional, but he injuring his knee or something. Had to come out, and ultimately CD Sané came in as a replacement there. So, if that injury didn't happen, Conte is maybe the one who's going to be scoring the goal. So regardless, we didn't play well enough to not win this game or get a result in this game. But shortly after the goal, Younes, who had been active since his insertion, him and El-Faouzi really causing chaos. Really nice 1-2 touch passing. Well, Valenteves got involved, but you really saw the give and go, one touch stuff between Younes and El-Faouzi. El-Faouzi ultimately getting the goal in the 88th minute. You're like, okay, here we go, helter skelter at the end. Maybe we do bring one back, and then you get 7 minutes of stoppage time. Younes again involved and crosses the ball in, gets deflected by defender. Backdoor Valenteves header off the posts. That's as close as we'd come, Jack. 2-1, we lose. Full time. It felt like Bergstaller was playing in this game because we had like a million offsides as well, but just short. Fair result, given how the game went.
No, yeah, definitely a fair result. And I think the other thing too is like when you consider like how bad we were in this game, and we still found a way to create chaos late, drag a goal back, and then still another opportunity. I mean, like if we had found a way to like draw that. I'm not saying that's still a good result against Braunschweig. It's not. We should have gotten 3 points in this game. But like, I think that was at least something to take away. Was like in a game where we kind of looked like probably one of our worst performances of the year. It still ended up being a one goal margin, and we had a chance at the end. So that's the spin I can put on it. But yeah, beyond that, that's great. I mean, look, Younes, you can say what you want to say about him, like physically, and how up he is for more than probably 30 to 45 minutes for the most part. And what kind of ground he can cover during the minutes that he would be available for. But I'll tell you this, like in the final third around the box, whether it's like set piece delivery, whether it's the quick kind of 1-2s and that kind of stuff. I mean, quality is quality, man. I mean, like the guy is like legitimately good at that kind of stuff and plays like really incisive quick passes and 1-2s. And I actually really liked the combination from him and El-Faouzi. And I wonder if there's, this is I'm not saying this should be a thing, but I wonder if there's like more opportunities for like late game substitutions for Younes kind of in the midfield to kind of like partner with him a little bit more.
No, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, I'm with you there. I thought, he played only, 30 minutes? If you take stoppage time, 36, 37 minutes. He was the best player on our team, I thought. I thought he was active for his entire time that he was on the pitch. I thought, I agree with you. I think his combination play with El-Faouzi was something only skilled players can do. And he was able to bring that skillfulness. Not that we don't, not that El-Faouzi is not skillful in games, but you really saw like these deft one-touch passes in display in the box versus, El-Faouzi does it in the middle of the field to kind of transition the ball from defense to attack. To see him do this in the box and then finally through all his hard work, gets a goal. I do hope we see Amine Younes more in the second half, maybe in the super sub role, because if you look at how the formation is and what Muslic tries to do, no, Younes doesn't really fit that, but he certainly has a place in late in games as a super sub, especially when the game is tied or we're down and we're trying to get a goal. He creates stuff that rarely anybody on the team outside of Karaman can do when he's feeling it. So yeah, I hope we do see Amine Younes, and hopefully this gives Muslic something to think about in terms of extra options going down at the end of the second half of the season. So
I mean, dude, look at the ball he played, because El-Faouzi ultimately scored that goal off of like the goalkeeper deflection. But like, yeah, but the ball that he played to him in the box, like come on, it's great stuff. It's legitimately good stuff. So yeah, I mean, I wanted to shout him out. I'm glad that you felt similarly. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, he was my man of the match, even though we lost. So. But the big fear too, some results were going our way leading up to this game, but the big thing was, Hanover was playing, Elfsberg was playing while we were playing, and so we knew we were losing this game. We're like, shit, our 4-point lead just turned into a 1-point lead because Elfsberg is playing Person Munster. They were up 1-0 late in the game, and then lo and behold, Munster does us a favor and scores a goal in stoppage time to make it 1-1. So we keep a 3-point lead going into the Winterpause. Looking at the results from this weekend, ultimately it saved us the blushes, really. Darmstadt, Paderborn cancel each other out, 2-2 in there. Hertha Armenia drew. Karl drew Bochum. That game drew as well, 2-2. Dusseldorf beat Gorda Fürth. Kaiserslautern beat lost to Magdeburg, I should say. Kiel beat Dresden. And then, as I mentioned, Nuremberg did everyone a favor by beating Hanover. And then, as I mentioned, Munster and Elfsberg drew 1-1. So as bad as the loss was, everyone else in the league kind of dropped points as well, so we could continue our one-match advantage lead into this one. So
yeah, the Darmstadt Paderborn draw and some of the draws I thought were really important, and just kind of making sure that no one at the top of the table could really advance particularly far on us.
Well, this kind of leads to the 4 talking points in this one, and we're going to start off really with reality check. This was a reality check. We were all in La La Land. We hadn't been in these kind of waters in decades, that seems like. And so this game kind of grounded us. It kind of grounded the team as well. And there's a question of whether was there any winter break rust, and you kind of alluded to a little bit, maybe not so much earlier. And then, or did they underestimate the opponent, or was it either of those things, Jack? Thoughts on the reality check that was Braunschweig in this one before the Winterpause?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to read too much into it. Like I said, I think you're allowed to have bad days, and once again, only conceding 2 goals. It's not like it was one of the 4-goal collapses that we've seen from this team at times. So as far as bad days goes, it wasn't relative to what we've seen all that bad. And I honestly thought that Muslic's comments in the locker room, I don't know if you saw the video too, but I thought
we'll play it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so we'll get to that. Yeah, but I'll pause my comments for there now. But yeah, I thought he handled it really well, and I think it makes you feel better about the mentality and how that's being managed, and the psychology of the team. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more about that. I don't really think winter rust. I mean, looking ahead to the break, sure, but I mean, I think they're all professional. I think the way Muslic has drilled into these guys' heads, they were there. It just they got had in one game, and I'm okay with losing a game here and there once in a blue moon. Not like we've been doing for last decades, where we're losing every game, it seems like. So I don't think they underestimated Braunschweig. I think Braunschweig was just fully prepared, fully sharp, as you said, ready to go in this one, and they wanted it more than we did in this game. So I think the more worrisome thing kind of leads to my second talking point, which is just defensively frustrating, because had they beat us in our normal defensive way we've been playing all season long, I wouldn't have been took it as hard as I did in this one, because it's uncharacteristic defensive mistakes, and maybe that's a silver lining where like, hey, we don't normally play like this, so maybe it's something not to worry about. But again, the fact that stuff that we've explained many times this year, how we're like, our right side is weak, the rec balls are weak, some of the one-on-one skill that we don't quite have or pace back there. It all kind of came to fruition in this game, and so backline certainly looked vulnerable. The defensive errors, I thought, they're like on that second goal that they had scored, the miscommunication between Becker and Katic back there, leading to two guys on one player, and then leaving the backdoor runner free to kind of get his full head of steam there. Thoughts on the frustration of the defensive side of the ball?
It was, like I said, it was just more disjointed. I think we're used to seeing the season, at the pivotal moment, like Katic or Kurch, flying in with a really like crunching, decisive, well-timed tackle to kind of like definitively end stuff. And there was just way too many sequences that are being left alive longer than they should have been in around the box, and that's kind of not clearing it and putting things to bed. And I mean, that's what happened on Iden's first goal, and then like you said, the second one just not as. It felt like they had more of a numerical advantage than they did. I feel like it's kind of what I'm getting at, if that makes sense. So yeah, it just wasn't. It's tough. I mean, you're on your heels anytime a player's running at you, like you're at a disadvantage as a defender there. But yeah, even so, definitely frustrating. Like I said, uncharacteristic for most of what we've seen this year.
Very very uncharacteristic, and I thought like that first goal, like you said, like Katic, completely just getting blown by Bell, as he goes around him, and Kurch out of position, and Schallenberg out of position, and El-Faouzi just not a great clearance by him, and so all the way around, yeah, everyone, it just was uncharacteristic by a lot of players, and so that was the frustrating part, not so much, and I guess since it wasn't a direct rival, it wasn't a team that we were head on competing with. I'm okay that it happened here, not against one of those big boys. So, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a one-off game. As you said, I'm not going to read into it. It's hard for us as Schalke fans because we're so accustomed to this happening all the time, and so when we see it, we're like, this happens all the time. I told you guys, but like you're right, as you said, it's like this isn't happening often to us this season. This is a one-off, really. So, no really big reason to read into this too much. If it becomes a thing and it becomes a trend and a pattern, okay, that's a different story. But we're not there yet, and now we get a month break to kind of regroup. And if anything, Jack, I think this loss was good because it's going to give a little fire in the bellies of all the guys. Like, damn, we lost that last game of the first half of the season. That we don't play like that. That's bullshit. So they're going to get like hungry and want to do better, I think. And I expect them to come flying out the gates in the second half, hopefully.
And honestly, if there's something that I hope Muslic focuses on as a result of this game, is actually like the offensive side of it more than the defensive side of it. I think there's more to learn from how poorly that went than necessarily how much we're getting exposed on the defensive end in this one.
Yeah, I agree 100% that the stagnation of the attack has been a recurring theme throughout this first half of the season. But I think that glimmer, hopefully they saw what we saw in Amine Younes and some of this combination play we saw some of these players make. I do think ultimately having guys like Valentavits, the youngster, inserted in there, Vitaly Becker kind of getting this confidence, hopefully that'll start sprinkling in. And El-Faouzi obviously getting his goal builds confidence even more. I think finding a way, who was it? It was, I want to say it was Harry Potter. The last manager who came in and brought in someone for the attack to kind of focus on that. Maybe Muslic has to do that. I don't know, but we don't want to take away from the defensive stability of the team. But we certainly need to do something more creatively, offensively. We can't just be Kenan Karaman, going through guys and taking people on. He can do that stuff, sure, but he's 32 years old. Can't really rely on a 32-year-old to be our main playmaker. So if we can have El-Faouzi and Younes and some of these other guys come in there and do some creative playmaking, and maybe some of the youngster strikers coming in, maybe a Remert or Hoyland coming back.
Yeah, I think the striker position has to be a focus too in terms of how to get that position more involved in the attack earlier and more often. Yeah, it's that's been a weakness for us for sure.
Now, do you feel like you'd want to see any one of the strikers more so going into the second half, or maybe a striker that's not even on the team yet?
Yeah, if they're healthy, I want to see Remert. I mean, some of the guys we saw at the top of the season that before they kind of disappeared.
We call Remert.
Yeah, and look, to be fair, I think I think as long as Silla isn't scoring or massively contributing offensively, he doesn't really have a right to the position. like consistently. So I don't think there's an issue with rotating there if you need to. If you think that Silla's the best option in training and everything else, like sure, keep rolling him out there. But like it's not like, oh, like I mean, like look, this has been a bad year for Silla by all metrics. He had a stretch where he was scoring a little bit. And I'm not saying he's been bad in every performance when he hasn't scored or whatever, but like he hasn't impacted things nearly enough. And so I don't think it would be disrespectful or anything to like rotate him every once in a while, give somebody else a start, or at least like give him a half, give him 30 minutes,
Speaking of disrespectful, I'm going to kind of disrespect you here a little bit, but I have to bring up Franco Di Santo because this is a similar situation where a player who is a striker is not scoring goals, and ultimately that's his job to score goals. And so he may be contributing to the team in the build-up and some of the goals. He's not scoring ultimately, and so I think it's okay for Muslic if he wants to kind of deviate from that and have someone else start. Maybe it'll fire up Silla more if he's coming off the bench or sits down for a game and maybe kind of refocuses himself, because if he feels like he's got the guaranteed start, maybe he doesn't get the extra motivation. And I'm not saying that to it at all with him, but we got to try something different. Keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's craziness, right? And so maybe you got to try something.
Yeah, no, but I think even coming into even before we saw, like, Silla obviously not kind of be on pace for what he had last year in the first half of the season. Even coming into this year, I think we were expecting to see a number of people in that position that we were looking to see get minutes and that kind of a thing. Hasn't really worked out that way for injuries and for various other reasons. But I don't think I don't think if that happened in the second half, that would be a deviation from the script that we thought was going to happen in the first place. It's not to say we didn't think it was going to be Silla's position, that he was going to get the lion's share, but like there were a lot of people on the squad, at least in terms of the team sheet, that we thought were going to be in the mix and that we were going to be looking for more options and more varied options there. And we haven't seen that outside of really Lasmo getting.
Yeah,
he's kind of been the main guy, I would say. So yeah.
And I think if anybody could fit Music's system with the press and everything, it's Remmert, to your point. So hopefully we get to see some more guys in the second half. We'll see what happens, or maybe Silla catches on fire, or whatever it is. Either way, we need to get more goals in the second half of the season. I was going to talk about the momentum in the table, but like we've kind of really talked about it already. We're still first place. We got a 3-point lead, and it's a Winterpause now, so we got a chance to regroup and things like that. But before we headed out, the captain had some words to say to the fan base. So we're going to play his little thing that he said pitch side here. So,
hallo Schalke-Fans. Es war eine geile Hinrunde. Gemeinsam haben wir es geschafft, den Verein wieder in die richtige Richtung zu bringen. Rückschläge werden kommen. Wir werden gemeinsam auch da rauskommen. Ich wünsche euch allen schon mal frohe Weihnachten, guten Rutsch. Wir werden die Kräfte bündeln. Und dann greifen wir auch in der Rückrunde wieder an.
So there goes our captain, really saying, essentially everything we've been saying. Setbacks will happen, but we're going to regroup and come back stronger. And wishing all Schalke fans a happy, obviously, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Good, Captain's right. Captain's right, Jack.
We've mentioned this a bunch of times this season, but I mean, it really makes you appreciate once again the fact that he stayed and didn't leave, and that he's still here, kind of playing this role for the club, because he's a great guy to have, in the locker room for sure, and on the pitch, to say nothing of his on the field talents.
You alluded to this earlier in the podcast, but Miron Muslic did have some words for the boys as he headed out here, and I thought, to your point, what you were going to say, and I'm sure you're going to say more of it after the speech here, but it tells you kind of the mentality or shape that I think we're in going into the second half of the season, and I feel good about it. Here we go.
Was uns keiner nehmen kann, ist die Arbeit der letzten 6-7 Monate. Größter Respekt für jeden Einzelnen von euch hier. Was wir geschafft haben, gemeinsam kennen wir letzten 6-7 Monate. Männer, wir haben heute verloren, 17. Runde, auswärts im Park Braunschweig, 2-1, als der Bandführer. Wer hätte das gesagt vor 6-7 Monaten? So this is something we should be proud, every single person inside this room, the journey we took together the last 7 months. Nobody gave it to us. We took it. We deserve it. Nobody gave it to us. We took it in Schalke style, and we deserve it. Of course, we are disappointed with losing the game. Of course, we can also be a little bit more disappointed because we're losing the game. It's the last game of the season. We're going into a little break. No problem. Keep your head up again.
So there you have it. The coach with his final words to the team. You were going to say something earlier about this speech here. I'll give you your moment here to talk about Mr. Muslic.
No, I just love him to get clips like this and get insight into what the squad and kind of the squad management looks like, and how he's trying to affect the psychology of the team and keep them motivated and keep them focused and keep them, firing on all cylinders. Because that's half the game, right? Half of it is the tactical side and sort of the player development side and the squad development side in terms of what you're working on in training and what you're trying to implement, and how you're trying to bring certain players along in a certain direction so they can fulfill the role that you have kind of picked out for them within your desired system and all those kind of things. And the other half of it is entirely like the mental side of the game, which is huge. Especially these are long seasons too. These are not 3-4 month seasons. It's like the majority of the year. There's a lot of time and a lot of swings and things. You know what I mean? And like when you're on a roll, like you can get complacent. That happens to everybody. It happens, like no one's immune from it. But anyway, So I just appreciated that he was. There are reasons to be upset with that. We're league leaders losing to a bad team. The last game of the season, we want to kind of ride high, and he's acknowledging those things. He's like, yes, you can be disappointed in that. It's good to be disappointed in that, but shake it off. And tomorrow, make sure you're going into the break not feeling negatively, but feeling positively about what you've achieved. Because no one would have predicted that for the squad 6-7 months ago, as you were saying, and they've done it. And we have criticisms about how it's been done to some extent, and concerns about how the team's performing in certain ways and everything like that. But fundamentally, as we've said, there has been a formula that has worked. He's implemented it. The team has done it, and they are deservedly leading the league. They just got into double-digit territory in terms of goals conceded with this last game, but they have 10 now in 17 games.
It's crazy,
but they earned it. So I mean, they should feel good, and I appreciated that sentiment from Muslic, and I think it speaks to the abilities he has, once again on kind of both sides of management.
Yeah, I love these behind-the-scenes clips because you can really hear what is said, in between the games, both players and coaches. And there's really two schools of thought. You can go with something like this after a game where you're the table leaders and you lose to a team that mid to low table. Muslic took the one route with the route he took, which is absolutely wonderful. The other end, it could have been where he could just lambast into this team. And I don't know if that's the right mentality you want to send to a team heading to a 3-week break. They're going to have 2 weeks off before they come back to camp. And so you don't want to leave them on that lasting note, just berating them, because that's all they're going to be thinking about for the next 2 weeks. So mentality thing is such a big thing for us. We've talked about how mentally fragile we've been coming into the season, and to see how mentally strong we are because of Muslic and his staff. And you can see why with the speech there, where really it's acknowledging the mistakes that they made, but also praising them for everything they've done. Like he said, people didn't give us anything. We took it. We deserve it. This is, yes, we had little setbacks here and there. We wanted to win this game, but we're where we're at because we earned every bit of it. And so we have a chance now to go and regroup, come back, and, fight for it. And he acknowledges people will be coming after him. And he's like, we're going to bring it on. We're going to take it on, head on. So I love it.
That's the key point for me. It's not just like, oh, it's okay that we lost this because we're top of the league and we're doing well. It's more, it's okay that we, it's okay that we lost this because we're top of the league because of the work that we've put in to get there. And that means that work is repeatable. And then in theory, the results should be repeatable. And we know that as long as we stay true to that and stay true to that plan and that commitment, things are going to be borne out for us in the right direction in the second half of the season.
So much. I'm going to relate this to parenting now. So much of it is you tell people, the old school mentality was like, oh, good job. You did a great job. Good job. And it's like, it's better off to say something like, you work really hard at this. You deserve this. You earned this. You put in a lot of effort in this. That goes a long way to kind of making sure that the person or the people are more successful versus saying good job because they made us think, oh, I'm entitled to everything. And we don't want to be that where we become complacent as a team. This is reinforcing to the guys that you got here because you earned it, because you worked your asses off. Keep it up, and you'll continue to have good things. And so I love that message by Miron Muslic there at the end of the season. So anything else on Miron Muslic and the team before we get on out of here?
No, I think that's enough glazing for the time being.
Right on. All right, so it's a Winterpause, Jack. No games until I think the 17th of January. 3 weeks off. The boys are off until the 7th when they come back to training, per Muslic's words, over the weekend. So final thoughts on the first half of the season so far?
Super excited. All the concerns that we've stated are, still kind of remain, and not, the best ending to the first half of the season we were looking for, but fundamentally, top of the table with margin, and still feeling like there's potentially more performance to milk out of the squad as well, which is a very good position to be in. I'm looking forward to seeing if there's any moves that we make, you know, in the break here, particularly, you know, on the attack, to see if we can impact that a little bit with personnel. But look, overall, like, you know, we're in a much better situation financially. Shout out Christina Rollhammers, the GOAT. And no, but I mean, like, and things are looking up. Second half of the season is going to be the second half of the season. We have no idea how that's going to look, but you know, I do feel like we have a very good figure at the helm right now for the reasons that we just spoke about for a minute during kind of that praise period. And yeah, man, I mean, everything is within grasp. So
everything is within grasp, and I think also having Frank Baumann up there as well, some competency back there. It seems like, at least for now, it's a nice change to what we've been accustomed to unfortunately for many years. I think, as Muslic says, you know, coming into the season 6-7 months ago, if you told us that we're going to lose a game at the end of the season, end of the first half, and still be top of the table, we would have thought you were crazy. But here we are. He Muslic and Baumann have really completely flipped this team in terms of mentality and play style as well. Kind of getting back to the roots of what, you know, Schalke have been accustomed to, and that's hardworking defensive play. Offense, and there's some things that need some work for sure. We know that. They know that. But I think where we've come a long way, the way we've, you know, I read those stats last week, how it's not just luck at this point. It's 17 weeks now that we've played this kind of defense. It's legit, and it gives a lot of optimism going into the second half of the season. Now, we are Schalke fans, and we've experienced all kinds of things, including good in the first half before, and so we're always met with a little trepidation in that. But I think, considering where we are, considering the man who's at the helm, I feel comfortable with this team, and we're not at our peak. I'm hoping we can certainly reach our peak at some point in the second half, but I'm feeling good. I feel good about the break for once, and you know, I don't know how much money we'll have to spend in terms of the transfer market, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful and excited. It's nice to be talking about wins and a good team for once in terms of results and stuff.
yeah, and if anyone's like, oh, why are Schalke fans so excited right now? You got promoted a few years ago. Like, this is not new. Like, this is not the same promotion campaign that we had before. As we talked about, like, we were nowhere with 6 or 7, 8 games remaining, you know, that the last time we got promoted, and we had a furious run towards the end to get into that position. This is a very different position to be in, to be kind of this dominant, this consistent, and you know, comfortably top at the midpoint. So hopefully we can kind of keep that momentum going.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And Joseph in the chat says thank you to us and the community. I think the community, Schalke American community, is really awesome. It's been building steadily over the years here, and obviously the people in the chat here tonight, Eric and Joseph and others who are here watching along, listening along. This is what Schalke is. Schalke is community, and so it's great to have. And now we all get to bask in the success that Schalke is having this season, and hopefully long may come, and then we can get back into the Champions League in the near future. A little optimistic there, but you know, hey, who knows? All right, Jack, where can our followers find you on social media to close out 2025?
At JM Mangan, JMMANGAN on Twitter. I'm feeling so, you know, Schalke spirit right now. I almost feel like I need to get the Schalke ornament for the Christmas tree. I don't know. I wouldn't have felt that way last year, but I don't know.
I should have worn my Schalke sweater or Schalke Christmas sweater, my Bergstaller one. Dang it, I wasn't thinking about that. But
that needs to be the thumbnail for this podcast, is the Bergstaller, like over the seat, like whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
I hope he's doing all right post whatever that traumatic attack that he suffered was, or whatever.
I do too. Shout out to Bergstaller for sure. Second mention of him on this podcast tonight. You can follow me at _KHARMAN. More importantly, follow us at Schalke America all across social media. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you do that already. Definitely gives us some extra eyes in the algorithm and all that stuff. If you're not part of our Discord chat, make sure you go and join that there. We're all in there and talking all kinds of stuff in between games, during games, and all that jazz. So 2025 is done. Well, at least in terms of Schalke, we're done. We'll see you guys back in the second half of the season, and just watch some other videos and content in the meantime. So for Jack and myself, enjoy the holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and Glück auf.